Hi, I'm Brenda Kinnear, and I'm here to tell you my story.
Surgery.
On March 3rd, 2002, I went in for routine gallbladder surgery. Well, something went dreadfully wrong. I came out of the surgery and out of the hospital 3 days later on oxygen. They thought it was just a blip, but after 6 months, they realized that I had end-stage pulmonary fibrosis. That's a hardening of the outside of the lungs, making it very difficult for the lungs to move when you try to breathe. I missed all the steps in between, so I was on oxygen 24/7. In August of 2002, I went to my regular doctor, who then referred me to the transplant department at the University of Alberta Hospital. My, was that a shock. November 2005, they decided they were going to list me for transplant. What I needed was a double lung transplant. January 2003, I was listed as active and ready to accept a transplant should it become available. I was on oxygen 24/7 and continued to decline for 3 years, waiting for that all-important phone call that would be my lifesaver. January 2005, I went for my routine doctor's appointment, at which stage the doctor said, "You do not have more than 6 months to live. Your chances of receiving a cadaveric, meaning lungs from someone that has died, are slim to nil. The size of lungs that you need are the size of a 12-year-old child." I was a 50-year-old woman. They're not going to give a 50-year-old woman a set of lungs, an organ that is so valuable, when there are hundreds of children waiting for this organ as well. He said, "What we'd like to propose, if you are interested in an experimental surgery, we're just starting." My husband and I basically looked at him, looked at the doctor, looked back at each other and said, "What option do we have? What other option?" Well, I could die at home. I could die in the hospital gasping for breath. I could die on the operating table, or I could come out fine. Then we asked, what was this experimental surgery? What we needed now, instead of one person dying, we needed 3 people to donate their lobes. Lungs are made up of 5 lobes. We have 2 on the left side and 3 on the right side. So 1 lobe from a taller person. Now we're looking for somebody big instead of looking for somebody small. The lobe would be taken from 2 different people. We need 3 in case something went wrong during the prep or getting the days leading up to surgery. So what we would do is extract a lobe from 2 different people. These lobes would then be turned, plumbed, and refitted into my lung cavity. Where do we go from here, they said. We have 2 sons. At the time, our oldest son was 34 years old and lived in Las Vegas, Nevada. Our youngest son lived here in Edmonton. He was 29 years old, too. Both the boys wanted to be checked and see if they qualified. The doctors all wanted my husband. The boys basically said, "Dad can go through with the testing, but we want Dad sitting beside Mom, not laying beside her."
Wow.
We brought Daryl up from Nevada. He went through all the testing in 2 days. The hospital was amazing to be able to run him through approximately 15 different tests in 2 days. Shannon, Doug, and one of my sisters, I have 2 sisters, one also wanted to be tested. So one of my sisters, the 2 boys, and Doug were all tested. The doctors just could not believe it when all the results came back. All 4 were perfect matches. That is something even to this day they have not seen.
Wow.
someone was looking out for us. We finally got our date, April 25th, 2005. That was the day that was going to change my life for better or worse. Everyone says it's the boys that are the heroes in this story. I'm sorry, I disagree totally. My husband had to watch his whole family, me and the 2 boys, that's all there are in our family, going into the operating room, not knowing if 1, 2, or 3 were going to come out. We all did. The surgeon extracted Daryl's right lobe, brought it into my surgeon, who then inserted it in my lung cavity. I have no lungs at this stage. They've taken them out, they went plunk, plunk, they're gone. I'm on life support now. If it doesn't work, we're in trouble. They inserted Daryl's lobe. Off he went to recovery. They had a little more trouble getting Shannon's lobe out. They had to end up breaking one of his ribs. But finally he was out of surgery and off to recovery. I was in the ICU for an extended period of time. I was in the ICU for 6 weeks, which was very, very rare for a transplant. I had some other complications as well. Finally, I was free and clear, back on the ward and starting to live again, able to breathe on my own for the first time in 4 years.
How did it feel to not have oxygen tanks next to you?
I kept looking for my dog leash.
Yeah.
For years I had this oxygen cord. That's how they used to find me in the house. They always knew where Mom was. Follow the line. So there I am, looking for my line.
Yeah.
And I don't have it anymore.
It was whatever needed to be done. She was on the transplant list for quite some time, to the extent that it was you have to do something because being on the list is getting us nowhere. And a lot had to do with her build. She was more adapt for a children's lung. She's under 5 foot.
Yeah.
She's older, and a lot of people figure, okay, it should go to a younger, which agreeable. I mean, they have their whole life in front of them too. And she was in her, well, let's say her early 50s, having it done. So yeah, it was something that when it was brought up to us, we said yes right away. My dad, me, my brother, a couple aunts, everybody said yes, what can we do? And it just worked out that there was an extensive screening, and we went through the whole, because they want it to be as near perfect as possible. And like you say, if you're going to do something like this, it has to be as near perfect as possible. So it was well worth everything from blood work to physicals to running upstairs, downstairs, seeing how your recovery time would be after, because you're losing roughly 25% of your lung capacity. So it was something that it was quite extensive to go into, but well worth it. And my brother went through it, I went through it, and my aunt went through it as well, as being a backup donor in case anything were to happen.
Now, how do you feel though to see your mom the way she is now after
Amazing.
what she's been through and all that stuff?
Amazing. I would do it again in a second. For her to have it done, and at the time, I just met my future wife at the time. My brother had no children at the time. I had no children at the time. Now, 9 months after the surgery, I have a 15-month-old baby daughter. My brother just gave birth to, or they just had their first daughter. So for something like that, to see my mom's reaction or anything like that, to see if anybody sees their mom's reaction to being a grandmother for the first time, it's amazing. Do that when you've given her life, she's given you life, and now you bring another life into the world. It's truly remarkable.
Hi, I'm Brenda Kinnear, and I'm powered by breathing.